This is Tenet, an online media company based in the US and allegedly funded by Russia. The scheme involved $10 million. According to the US Department of Justice, the money was channeled through Russia Today employees, who report to Putin's ally Margarita Simonyan. They struck a deal with Tenet Media founders Liam Donovan and his wife Lauren Chen, who had previously written opinion pieces for Russia Today. Then Tenet's founders brought in high-profile American influencers, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, and Tim Pool. They were hired to create and distribute content with hidden Russian government messaging and deceive millions of their followers.
One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine.
The influencers shared videos on multiple social media spreading the Kremlin propaganda. The founders of Tenet Media knew all along that the money was coming from Russia, while the commentators claimed they were deceived.
I, as well as the other personalities and commentators, were deceived.
I am the victim of a crime.
Good morning, Owasso. This is Chad with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. Today, we are going to do our Throwback Thursday segment. This is what I originally had planned for last Thursday, but of course, last Thursday is the day that we found out that Charlie Kirk was shot, so I had to completely redo the show to talk about Charlie Kirk. So this is what I originally wanted to talk about last Thursday, the Tenet Media scandal and what is actually going on with it. And there's just a lot of stuff, misinformation that's being put out by this, and the left jumped on this because it makes the right look bad. And that's basically what it is. It seems to be that from what I'm seeing here and all this information that I'm about to show you, it seems like this was literally a smear campaign that was used by the government to try to silence right-wing social media influencers. And I'm going to prove that with some of the information that I have here. So we're going to get started, and we're going to start with the Wikipedia article about this, and then I will show some other stuff about it too. So let's say Tenet Media 2024 Tenet Media investigation. Tenet Media was a right-wing American company founded by conservative commentators Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan in 2022, describing itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political cultural crisis. Tenet Media featured 6 right-wing influencers: Matt Christensen, Tyler Hansen, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Lauren Southern. In 2024, the U.S. charged with 2 Russian media executives in a $10 million scheme to illegally fund Tenet Media, the influence to promote Russia propaganda. The company shut down shortly afterwards. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, many of the Tenet Media videos contain commentary on events in which the U.S., such as immigration, inflation, and other topics related to domestic and foreign policy. While the views expressed in the videos are not uniform, most are directed to publicly state goals of the government of Russia, the RT, to amplify domestic division in the United States. Tenet podcasters featured prominent Republican figures, including Republican National Committee Chair Laura Trump, Project 2025 Director Paul Dans, Vivek Ramaswamy, Kash Patel, and Carrie Lake. Tenet's content included coverage of illegal immigration, diversity in video games, supposed racism against white people, and free speech and Elon Musk, as well as climate change denial content. Around February 2023, Tenet sought to hire 2 right-wing commentators with 2.4 million YouTube subscribers and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers to produce videos. The 2 eventually signed on, and Commentator 1 and Commentator 2 reached and received over $400,000 a month for producing political videos for Tenet. According to the DOJ indictment, the defendants requested that Tenet Media influencers' content blame the Caracas City Hall attack on Ukraine and the U.S. According to DOJ, the indictment of Russian nationals. 2 Russian nationals were federally indicted on the DOJ on September 4th, 2024, for their alleged activities relating to Tenet. The company was identified as Company 1 in the indictment, but description information allowed several media sources to identify it as Tenet. According to the unsealed indictment, the 2 indicted Russians were employees of the Russia state-controlled media RT, who are charged to failing to register with as foreign agencies. The allegedly funneling around $10 million into Tenet in order to distribute content to the U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government meeting. The indictment of the two Russian statement, the unsealed indictment, said that the founders of the unidentified company, widely reported to be Tenet Media, knew their funding came from the Russians. It alleges that the Tenet founders masked their Russian funding by creating a fictitious persona, a wealthy European sponsor, Eduard Girani, whatever, and charged the Russian nationals Konstanya Klashnikov and Elena Alisafanyeva, whatever, however you say these Russian commie names, were involved in the day-to-day operations of the Tenet by fall of 2023, using false names to conceal that they were Russian RT employees. The indictment alleges that the founders acknowledged in a private communication that their investors were actually Russian. Attorney General Merrick Garland said that the Tenet never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers the ties to RT and the Russian government. The prosecution also alleges that $10 million was a Russian money laundering operation. Right-wing influencers hired by the company, including Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, said that they were unwitting victims in the alleged scheme. Following the indictment, YouTube terminated Tenet Media on other channels run by Chin. Prior to its removal, Tenet had around 316,000 subscribers. Tenet influencers Taylor Hansen announced on September 5th that the company had been shut down. The Biden administration said that the indictment was part of a wider effort to counter major Russian government efforts influence in the 2024 presidential election. That includes sanctions on 10 individuals and entities and seizures of 32 internet domains. Unlike the 2016 and 2020, when Russia employed armies of trolls and bots to reach Americans with dubious results, in 2024, Russia had pivoted to exploit established conservative social media influencers to reach Americans with pro-Russia messaging. Russians official Leonid Slutsky responded to the characterization as the sanctions as a clear example as a witch hunt, pressuring on freedom of speech and vulgar censorship. So, that is what they're talking about, and we are going to go to Google here real quick and see what happens when you type in Tenet Media. So we're going to go to Google, and we're going to type in, go away, I don't need you no more, Tenet Media scandal. So let's just do Tenet Media. Okay, I have it already in here, except it's going to be things. Let's go to all. So, first thing that pops up, of course, is the Wikipedia. That's why I used it. Right-wing influencers were duped to work for Russia. Complete data set of the Tenet Media podcast on Rumble. The DOJ alleges Russia founded U.S. media company linked to Russian ties. Inside Tenet Media, the pro-Trump super group allegedly supporting Russia. Like I said, all this stuff is like just talking about how they were duped, how they were stupid, and that's just how the mainstream media talks about this. So, there's a lot of stuff getting into this, and like we're going to let Tim Pool talk to himself. He's talking right here with Sam Cedar, talking about what happened with the Tenet Media scandal on his show, The Culture War, which is the show that Tim Pool actually financed out or, had a whatever. It's like a contract with him, which he'll talk about in here to do it. And his Culture War show has nothing really to do with politics. It's more of a culture show. They talk about movies. They talk about what's going on in the world, books, comics, stuff like that. But he brings on political people every once in a while, but the show has nothing to do with really talking politics. And the rest of the people, too, again, they said that they were never told to say anything. And here's what's going to happen. Here's Tim Pool talking about it with Sam Cedar, the very corrupt and left-wing, progressive, lying Sam Cedar. Whoops. Why is my volume not up?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, since you bring up Russia.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that you have to put some type of disclaimer because of the whole Tenet thing, or no?
No. I never received money from Russia. We never were given any money to create anything. Tenet Media and
it was all laundered through Tenet Media. I mean, obviously you weren't getting paid in rubles.
So I can try and, right, I'll keep it real simple. You have sponsors on your show. Did you ever ask who their investors are? Did you?
The sponsors?
Yeah, like a company comes to you and says, "We want to, have you shout us out or something." Do you like look into their financiers? Do you dig through their bank accounts?
I mean, we get it all from media brokers, but they weren't advertising on your show. They were.
No, it was a
they were paying you a license deal,
a license fee.
Yeah.
So I licensed to Nat Geo. I never asked them who their investors were.
Who? National Geographic.
Yeah. When I license through like all these other big distributors, someone comes to me, they say, we want a license. It goes to our lawyer comes back, says, here's the agreed upon fee. I say, thank you and have a nice day. And then we move on.
So was it just Ruben who asked who Gerard Depardieu or whatever that guy's name was?
I don't know what Dave did or anybody else did.
Did you ask about who that guy was?
Absolutely. And you know what's crazy is...
Well, wait a second. Why did you ask about who that guy was?
Wanted to know. Isn't that due diligence?
Yeah, but you just said you don't ask who the investors are.
No, I said, do you? Like, do you dig into all of these things?
I've never actually been approached with anything even remotely like that.
So when I got reached out to, like, by Discovery and Nat Geo, I said, I'm familiar with what this is. It's
yeah, no. If I mean, I licensed my show to Peacock, and
right, you know what they are.
Well, yeah. I mean, National Geographic is a well-known thing. But if somebody comes in and says, like, we're going to give you that kind of money for your programming, I'd be like,
how much money do you make on Majority Report?
Fuck is that?
How much money do you make on Majority Report?
How much do I make from on our revenue from the whole show?
All of it, 100%.
I mean, it's six
figures a month?
Revenue, yeah,
per month.
Yeah.
So why were you
figures? Yeah.
So you're over 100K per month on Majority Report?
I think. Well, I mean, some months. I mean, certainly the past couple of months have been.
His voice is so freaking annoying. I don't see how people can listen to him. He has such an annoying beta voice. It drives me. It's like nails on chalkboard to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but his voice is nails on chalkboard to me.
Really good. Some months are a little bit less.
I think you do a majority. I don't know about your other channels, but you do about 20 million per month in views.
Other channels?
Like, I don't know if you have other shows. I'm saying Majority Report does about 20 million.
That's it.
And with 20 million views per month, you do over six figures.
We had 20 million views for 2 months this year.
If you do 20 million views per month, I think is your YouTube metric.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit less now, but okay.
Oh, yeah. If a company came to you and wanted to license the show, which would...
I can tell you Peacock licensed a Majority Report. We were on Peacock for a year.
You want to say what they gave you?
I will tell you this. From what I read, you made more in a month than we made in a year.
Maybe that's just bad business on your part, I guess.
Maybe. Or maybe it turns out that they were just a company who had metrics as opposed to, like, were trying to get propaganda.
No, I think...
See, I have a theory about
I can tell you how much money we make at this company, right?
I would imagine it's millions.
Million per month, maybe.
Okay.
So when a company comes to me and says, we want to have you, who makes, as a company, $1 million a month, a show in which we will have a non-exclusive distribution, but takes the branding, then we're going to say, in 1 or 2 years, how much do we make on this show per month? Well, it's in excess of 400,000.
This was a new show. This was this show, right?
Well, so there's a few caveats. This channel is my first channel. It's got 1.35 million subscribers. It used to be my biggest channel where I would routinely get 500,000 to 1 million per video, or maybe like 600,000 per video on certain shows. And then we're talking about doing a show like this where you'll get, you have 1 million, 1,000,005 subscribers. I've got 1 million plus subscribers, or with the other channels, it's big names coming, doing these debates tends to attract a lot of sponsorship. So,
have you had any other deals like this?
Yes.
Oh, you have had other deals like this.
So,
because I seem to remember you saying to Emma that you had not, that it was just all from members, or you didn't have any back
sponsors. There's no backers, right? It's
Tenet, a license deal is not a sponsorship. Like, I mean, I have sponsors. Like I have. Well, it's different.
No one has come to this company. Let's clarify.
Hello Tushy comes and says we want to sell bidets.
Here's the difference.
I do an ad, but I don't have a license.
No one has come to my companies, plural, and said I will give you X in exchange for X in terms of the production of content or a stake in the company. We have no investors. We have no backing. We have sales.
Have you had other license deals like that? I'm not talking about a sponsor Tenet Media was not a sponsor.
It was a non-exclusive distribution license.
Yeah, it was a license deal.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
So
Have you had other license deals like that?
Yes. And so this is not.
With who? Is it another? I mean, I'm just curious.
Well, I got to wait because some of these deals are still in contract negotiations, so I can't.
Oh, so you didn't have any prior to the Tenet, or you did?
I have licensed content to big networks. We have explicitly, and on a low scale.
Prior to this, you had licensed it to other big networks.
I'm confused as what I have licensed my content to other big networks
Prior to the Tenet deal.
Yes.
Oh,
and we also
what were those networks?
So like Nat Geo and Discovery when they hired me for content.
No, I'm talking about these shows. I'm not talking about when you were, I'm talking about the whole Timcast world.
Before Tenet, there were 3 negotiations currently taking place, and I can't say too much because I can't violate other contracts. Offers were made.
You're not supposed to tell who you're licensing to?
When you are in contract negotiations, first, you don't go out and just say, hey, guess what this company's offering me right now?
No, of course not. Of course not. I'm not asking what you're in negotiations for.
Yes. You don't, if he is in negotiations with a contract to license something, you don't go around telling everybody else what they're doing, because that can immediately change the deal for another company. If you're trying to fight for 2 companies and you tell them exactly how much you're getting, how much one company is going to pay you, another company can jump in and pay you a little bit more. I mean, yeah, this is shady stuff that he's asking right now, trying to get him to divulge like his business information right now.
For the future, I'm saying prior.
All right, so let me finish. Yes.
Prior to Tenet Media,
okay.
Had you had any other license deals?
License deals presented that were comparable, and one was chosen.
Okay, so
and some are ongoing.
So you never had any other deals. People had proposed them to you, but you'd never
with
signed
higher
a
rates.
Deal.
We were offered more money from other companies,
and you went with Tenet.
Yes,
for a license deal.
I was offered a license agreement for comparable. I try to keep it vague, I guess, because
so just to be clear, you never signed another deal before Tenet. You had never had a license deal prior to that. As Timcast,
no. Okay, look. Yes, I did. I said it like 5 times now.
Oh,
I've licensed content to a ton of networks.
Oh, I was just curious as to what networks those were. I don't know why you're getting so upset.
Because I've said it 5 times. You keep asking the same question over and over again.
You said Nat Geo.
So I've licensed content to like Discovery, Nat Geo, and then there's media buyers who
but
do
not
general...
as Timcast.
Yes, just quite literally as Timcast from this channel.
Oh, really? To Nat Geo? Okay.
Yes, and I've even appeared on their networks. So I don't know, I can say it a million times.
Yeah. So, standard operating procedure for Timcast, what happened, and Lauren Chin is a close friend of his, so everything here makes sense. And this is the only follow-up article that I could find about this. The only one. There's no other article about this event in 2025 now that the DOJ charges have been dropped, that I can find anywhere. And we'll go ahead and read Lauren Chin's little fact here about what's going on with it, and then we'll move on to that article right there. So this is Lauren Chin. This is the person that was the founder with her husband, the co-founder of Tenet Media. Statement. July 4th, 2025. This past year has brought trials I have never imagined possible. There is just so much that I have to say. But for now, I will do my best to answer the question I know many of you have been wondering. What happened? On September 4th, 2024, 2 months before the general election, my husband, 2-year-old, and I were awoken early in the morning by 30 armed FBI agents about to break down our door. At the time, I was entering my 4th month of pregnancy. The FBI spent the next 4 hours searching our house and interrogating us about our company, Tenet Media, which licensed mostly right-leaning conservative content. They took all our electronics and seized our assets, including our life savings and revenue, and that had nothing to do with Tenet, such as payments from contracts with The Blaze and TPUSA. At the same time, the Attorney General Merrick Garland pushed a press release which essentially labeled Tenet a Russia propaganda operation intent on subverting the American election. The Department of Justice also unsealed an indictment on 2 Russian individuals that worked in conjunction with our company, but were not in U.S. custody or even in the country. This is a lengthy indictment of these individuals, was largely focused on Tenet Media, though most of the information provided was false, inaccurate, or out of context. There were also no claims made concerning issues outside of our knowledge and were regarded those allegations with extreme skepticism. Garland painted Tenet as a covert Russia propaganda mouthpiece and our conservative-leaning Tenet as an unwitting propagandist. The implication was that the Russian government was astroturfing support for President Trump in the upcoming election, and that his conservative and right-wing supporters online and independent media were merely behind him because they were paid to be. This notion was categorically untrue. Oh, crap. We're going to be in trouble now. Okay, perfect. Make sure we didn't go too far. To be clear, my own commentary has never been shaped by any outside parties, working with several different companies during my time on social media. Furthermore, as a company, Tenet offered total editorial freedom to our creators. We never forced or advised our creators to push in certain agendas, nor were we ever told to do so by any third parties. In fact, we often did not see the content creators published directly to our platform until we went live. We encourage these creators to do what they do best, speak their minds boldly, to suggest their earnest opinions are tantamount to our Russian propaganda is not only dishonest, but a besmearing of views commonly shared by a huge swath of Americans. In any case, due to the political nature of Garland's press release, our story quickly made international headlines, and we were falsely labeled as spies, propagandists, and even traitors. We went to set the record straight, but it immediately became apparent that any attempt to challenge Biden's DOJ resulted in threats of arrest, charges, and potentially prison. And so far, out of fear of being separated from our children and under advice from counsel, we chose to remain silent until we could be sure that speaking out would not result in further judicial or extrajudicial punishment. Though there were never any criminal charges, much less convictions due to the widely publicized investigation, all of our professional contracts were promptly dropped. We were deplatformed from YouTube, TikTok, Discord, and Google. We, and even some of our family members, were debanked by several financial institutions. We were forced to move due to death threats. Our work-based immigration visas, which was torpedoed by actions against our company, was not renewed. The Canadian government also seemed to have opened their own investigation into us following the highly publicized American case. And of course, we quickly amassed legal fees well into six figures. In March of this year, due to high blood pressure caused by chronic stress, I was induced and delivered our daughter. Despite circumstances surrounding the pregnancy, she is happy, healthy baby and has been a light of our lives during these difficulties. Thanks be to God. In April, the U.S. Attorney Office of the Southern District of the New York informed our lawyer that the investigation into us and our company had finally been closed. The news provided us with some relief, but it soon became clear that although we weren't criminals, the SDNY had no interest in restoring us to where we were before the investigation began, though they could easily do so. There would be no similar press release absolving us of the very public and very serious allegations that had been made against us. There would be no help clearing our names with the Canadian government. They would not restore our visa status, and predictably, despite the lack of charges or conviction, our financial assets, all of our savings would not be returned. Holy Lord. We have lived humbly this past year, both due to financial woes and public vilification. We have had very little certainty about what our future is with our family would look like. Because of my American visa was contingent upon our company, we had no choice but to leave our home and our children's place of birth. We are doing everything in our power to get a new visa and return home. Sadly, we lost some people who believed we were our friends, but more notably, we were blessed to have quite a number of our colleagues reach out with words of support. Some even published videos or posted in our defense. I am humbled to say that there are too many to thank individually. We also have received many kind messages from our audience during this time, and I cannot thank you all enough. Your messages of support, which have continued to come enough through, though I have from public life for the year now, never fail to bring tears to my eyes. No criminal charges were ever actually brought against us, against myself, my husband, or our company. The legal investigation has been quietly closed. Despite this, the road ahead of us is fraught with difficulties and uncertainties. I wish this ordeal was over, but our struggle continues as we fight to correct the many ways that our lives were upended. To that end, as some of you have kindly suggested and offered, we are now seeking help to cover our still growing legal fees and our effort to return home. Any support would be greatly appreciated, and we look forward to getting back to content creation and our life soon. Thank you. So, it was quietly closed and just disappeared. Everything about this case just disappeared overnight. It just dropped. So obviously the government did not find anything worth a damn in this case, just kind of like the Steele dossier. It seems like this was just literally an influence campaign to try to silence right-wing speakers, right-wing content creators that were pro-Trump. That is what this was. This was the Biden DOJ going after Trump-supporting content creators. Absolutely insane. So here's the only article that was written post 2024. No other articles can be found about this that I can find that are past 2025. So this is 2025. Came out April 7th of 2025. That's a long time ago now too. MAGA influencer Tim Pool now claims that there is no actual proof showing that he unwittingly took Russian money. The indictment includes out-of-context messages that are in dispute, no actual proof of said messages. In fact, the claims without any collaboration, hard evidence for everything else, Tim Pool said recently. Pro-Trump's podcaster Tim Pool is now openly questioning whether he was actually duped by Russia propaganda operation that paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars to post videos for a front company, claiming that the Department of Justice has shown no actual proof to back its allegations. Jared Holt, a right-wing extremist researcher and co-host of the Posting Through It podcast, sent the MAGA influencers a series of questions of Monday's episode, detailing Pool's career, evolution into popular right-wing provocateur. Pool was explicitly asked about the DOJ's indictment alleging 2 Russian state media producers used fake personas to funnel $10 million into the video outlet Tenet Meida, which hired Pool and high-profile conservative personalities to produce content. At the time of the indictment, he was unsealed last September. Pool was painted himself and the other Tenet creators, such as Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Lauren Southerns, as victims who had been deceived by a nefarious plot. Putin is a scumbag. Russia sucks donkey balls. Pool tweeted in response to the allegations. Pool would go even further in a video, posting a statement that he would assist the federal law enforcement in any way that he can, reiterating that he was victimized by the Kremlin if the allegations were true about Tenet Media. Months after the Justice Department released a 32-page document that included messages sent and a fake resume from a Kremlin media actors, Pool now suggests that the evidence showing that he had unwittingly received $100,000 per week from Russia influencers operation is flimsy at best and perhaps even false. Which, let's just say that is true, because if it was 2 Russian media operators that were going through a French, that they said was a French European, financier, that is them lying about it. So it means that they were talking about it. Oh, so the guy that we're talking to is French, and he is just a financier that wants to get conservative influencers, that wants to make a media company with a bunch of conservative influencers. Okay. So that means that they were duped. It means that they were tricked into all this. But the media is just going to ignore that and just focus on these 2 Russian RT news people. And that's all they're focusing on, because guess what? That's what they did. This is Russia hoax 2.0. The only difference is, instead of Trump, which it is semi going after Trump, because it's going, the only reason that these people support Donald Trump is because they're paid by Russia to do so. That is literally what this is. This is Trump Russia hoax 2.0. Because the left cannot believe under any circumstance that people would just willingly vote for Donald Trump. It's so stupid. The Independent has reached out to Pool for comment. Pool went on to say that he was paid by Tenet Media, inconsequential to me and my company, adding that the deal was minor, and his own Timcast company was hiring additional employees to expand its operations. The end of the deal changed nothing in my life. Companies hiring or plans, he stated. I think you're putting too much stock into claims that of the DOJ that have never been adjudicated, which is true. The case has been dropped now. The case was dropped after this. This was released back in April. The thing just got dropped like in September. She posted that little post September 4th of this year. Poole, who hosts one of the highest-rated podcasts in America, has also said that the amount was paid by Tenet was market rate for someone of his stature, claiming that the general ad reads on his show tend to cost sponsors tens of thousands of dollars. According to the indictment, both Rubin Poole did inquire at one point about where the money was coming from, leading the Russians to make up Eduard Gerard, however you say this name, Garanon, whatever, a supposed banker who was a free speech advocate. Garanon was the misspelled on many documents, and influencers could find no evidence online that he worked at a real bank where he claimed to have made his money. Plus, the profile of Garan, created by the Russians, cited his interest in social justice, a red flag for Rubin, of course, according to an email sent by one of Tenet's founders, the Washington Post reported at the time. I think it may be because that usual term is used by liberals, but we were creating a conservative network. Tenet's founder wrote the Kremlin media producers according to the indictment. Meanwhile, Holt noted that while Poole is correct that the government has not proven its claims in court yet, it's important to point out that the two Russia Today employees named in the indictment are based in Moscow. Barring a radical change of heart by Russian President Vladimir Putin, it's likely that they will ever be extradited to the U.S. to stand trial, added Holt. In the end, Poole's association with Tenet Media hasn't hurt his company's relationship with Trump administration. At the very least, last week, a Timcast staffer was added to the White House press pool. Yep. So they're trying, and again, this is very hostile towards Tim Pool and the Tenet Media crew too, saying, look, they got their hooks in. Tim Pool got his White House correspondent guy in there. They've got hooks in Donald Trump. The Russians got hooks in Donald Trump. That is literally what is going on right here. But again, it's been dropped. Everything about this case has been dropped. The people have been cleared. Lauren Chin has been cleared. They're free to go. Everything about this case has been dropped, which means that nothing came of this. There's no evidence to go after these people. All this was a smear campaign. And we talk about this stuff. I talk about this crap all the time, is that what happened in the Biden administration, what is going on in the Biden administration and the Obama administration that allowed them to do this. So let's go here to my favorite little article here, the Smith & Munson Modernization Act.
So in 2013, it was legalized in the United States to propagandize its citizens. What? Like, that's some scary third world stuff going on. That's the kind of stuff that people use to topple governments, to take away freedoms.
Yes, you heard that right. Almost a decade ago, propaganda was legalized in the United States with the passage of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which you've probably never heard of. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was buried in the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act for a good reason, because it repealed the 1948 Smith-Mundt Act, which authorized the State Department and the mainstream media to engage in propagandizing foreign countries, but it prohibited releasing that same propaganda in America for public consumption. This prohibition was lifted when the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was signed into law by Obama.
Very simply, Obama gave it a reboot in 2012. So, no matter how outrageous the propaganda may be, it's completely legal.
Propaganda, in other words, a false narrative, for whatever specific purpose, is now much, much easier to perpetrate on the people.
Due to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which went into effect on July the 2nd of 2013, scripted and orchestrated propaganda can now be presented to the American public as factual news.
2013 is when it came into power. I have something else pulled up here in just a second that we're going to talk about that, but let's go ahead and hear from the man himself. Let's hear from the man that passed this act himself.
Want propaganda to be effective. You don't have to convince people that what you are saying is true. You just have to flood the zone with so much poop. They used a different word, but you have to flood the zone with so much untruth constantly that at some point people don't believe it. If you want...
So lie. You have to spread lies and false information and false narratives, which is what the Smith-Munson Act was about. President Barack Obama is a piece of shit. A huge piece of shit that made it to where you could lie about your political opponents, which is what the Democrats have been doing against Trump since 2013. 2013. So let's go back over here, and we have this right here. All of a sudden, sociologists started picking up on a new trend. White progressives were becoming more obsessed with race, slavery, and white supremacy, largely driven by liberal media exponentially increased its focus on these issues. Sociologists called it the Great Awakening, and that's what Trump is fighting against. So we're going to talk about this right here. It's like 2012, 2013 is when the Smith-Munson Act came into effect, and all of a sudden the media starts using these woke terms like crazy. Let's listen to this. This is not...
Starting around 2011, 2012, sociologists started to notice a shift in white liberal opinion polling to where white progressives became more extreme in their views on race than Black and Hispanic Americans. And they called this, the sociologists did, called it the Great Awakening. And when they postulated, where did this come from? Why did white progressives suddenly start obsessing over race in a way that was actually far to the left of where Hispanic and Black Americans were on this issue? They found that the media had shifted radically how it talked about these issues. So, for example, in 2010, the words white supremacy were mentioned 75 times in the Washington Post and the New York Times. But the media is different from museums. In 2020, the words white supremacy were mentioned 700 times in the Washington Post and the New York Times and 2,400 times in NPR. The word racism, 4,000 times in 2020. The words white and racial privilege from 2013 to 2019 grew by 1,500% in the New York Times and the Washington Post. And the word slavery itself exponentially skyrocketed as a percentage of words. I'm offering this only to suggest...
I understand. I'm just wondering what do you think is the problem with talking about slavery, white supremacy, racism, et cetera?
So the point I'm trying to make here is that liberals will say, well, this is a reflection of reality. But of course it isn't. This is a reflection of a newfound obsession that was driven by the media. Well, and that doesn't reflect either the moral evil of these things or the historical accuracy.
I do want to dive into what you mean by that.
Okay, we're not going to listen to all of that, but yes, 100%. Like, it was being pushed on us from the Obama administration because Operation Mockingbird, remember, Operation Mockingbird, all they did was send a bunch of their FBI, CIA analysts and whatnot, or get hired by these media companies, and they push the narrative. And this is the issue that we're having. I mean, this is how long this has been going on. This is a communist, fascist, socialist take on the worldview, on how to stop your opponents, how to stop your political opponents. Check this out. This is from 1943, the Communist Directive from 1943.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable buildups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That is literally the playbook of the left today, the American left today. Smear them, lie about them, make it to where that nobody will ever believe anything that they say because we've smeared them so hard. So stupid. And then getting into the other part of this topic if what Tenet Media did was wrong, then we need to get into this right here. Dark Money Group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. We literally talked about this on the show not too long ago. This is the exact same thing as the Tenet Media scandal, but did not get nearly as much media coverage about it. So let's go over here and let's talk about Democrat dark money and see what comes up here. So let's just do Democrat dark money. We're got to go to all. Let's see here. Santa Clara University, Wired, which is the original one, a podcast, no mainstream coverage of this whatsoever. So we have Santa Clara University talking about it, has a publish on it, and then we have Wired, and then everything else is like a independent podcast type situation. Got a Neiman Lab. Where's CNN's coverage of this? Where's MSNBC's coverage of this? Where is the mainstream media's coverage of this? It's nowhere to be seen. This is how you know that that was a smear campaign against Tenet Media. They got the government involved. Biden's administration got immediately involved in this. They had to get involved and put a stop to those bad Trump supporters, because there is no equivalent to this over here. Because let's look into this. So let's just get a refresher real quick from Taylor Renz, the person who wrote the article themselves, about this, and then I'll get into
a powerful liberal
else.
dark money group is secretly funding some of the biggest Democratic influencers on the internet. After the Democrats lost last November, the party faced a reckoning. It was clear that they had failed to successfully navigate the new media landscape. While Republicans have spent decades building a powerful independent media ecosystem, the Democrats have largely relied on outdated strategies and traditions.
Okay, again, and they act like they've built it up like they're these huge networks that are all intertwining and involved with it. And most of these guys, besides like going to like dinner together, don't really communicate with each other. Their shows have nothing to do. They don't call each other, hey, what are you talking about today, bud? There's none of that. It's because it's a bunch of individuals that are all just working towards the same cause, but they don't communicate with each other. Like, I mean, there's regular fights in between right-wing co-commentators all the time, but we'll get back into this.
Additional media. But last month, a covert new program aimed at bolstering Democratic support on the internet began rolling out. The 1630 Fund, a dark money group, is working with Chorus, a liberal influencer collective, to secretly pay pro-Democrat online influencers up to $8,000 a month. The influencers have to attend regular messaging check-ins, but the program is being run in secret. According to contracts viewed by Wired, the influencers would be kicked out for even speaking about it. Influencers included in communication and an onboarding session for those receiving payment from the 1630 Fund include Olivia Juliana, the centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the DNC last summer, Barrett Adair, a content creator who runs an American Girl doll-themed pro-DNC meme account, Suzanne Lambert, who has called herself a Regina George liberal, Aaron Parnas, who has been called the Gen Z Walter Cronkite, and dozens of others. The whole thing raises questions about independent media funding, non-disclosures on political content, and standards surrounding ethics and transparency in the content creator industry. Head over to Wired to read my full story.
Which I have right here, which I'm not going to read, because if you want to watch this whole thing where I literally read the entire article of this, go find the episode. And it's called Democrat Dark Money. That's all it's called, so it's super easy to find. But let's go into who is this dark money group, this 1630 Project. 1630 is a liberal dark money group administered by the Arbella Advisors. The 1630 Fund was founded in 2009 and seeding fund from American Unite for Change, the AUFC, Acorn, U.S. Action, Sierra Club, and Working America. So let's click on some of these and see where this is, because this is where their funding is coming from. All right. So let's see. Arabella Advisors is a Washington, D.C. based for-profit consulting company that advises left-wing donors and nonprofits about where to give money and manages several dark money groups supportive of the Democratic Party and the progressive movement. It was founded in the former Clinton administration by appointee Eric Kessler, and in 2023, Arabella raised more than $1 billion in anonymous donations, nearly sent $1.5 billion to other organizations. Between Arabella's founding in 2005 and 2021, Arabella took in $6.5 billion, and a vast majority of which flowed to policies and litigations of groups on the left. So it's what seems to be a money laundering scheme for the Democrats. So let's go to this one. So remember, the whole point of this was that the whole point of the Tenet Media scandal was that they are getting paid by a foreign government, So let's go check out this. Acorn is one of their big donators towards the 1630 project. Acorn is international, a federal autonomous member-based community organization and tenants union. The organizers represent a total membership and currently at approximately 250,000 members, Acorn internationally has active affiliate organizations in multiple countries such as Cameroon, Canada, the Czech Republic, England, France, Honduras, India, Ireland, Italy, Kenya, Peru, Scotland, Tunisia, the United States, and Wales. So theoretically, they're also getting paid by foreign countries to do this type of organization. Now, they're going to be like, well, it's not Russia, but it's still outside influence of another country paying these people working at Tenet Media. I mean, not Tenet Media, at whatever, the 1613 Project, the Dark Money Group, whatever the heck it's called. It's so stupid. So, again, here's this organization. We have a Chorus. That's it. Chorus is the organization. I'm sorry, just since we're talking about Tenet Media, I'm all got Tenet Media on the brain. So they are getting foreign country donations to this group. But this is okay. There's no mainstream talk about this. There's no government investigation into this. But God forbid Tenet Media takes money from Russian people that they had no clue who it was. They said that they were a European financier or banker, whatever, and then these people come after them. So they get the government hammer coming after them, which, again, I believe, after just showing you what I just showed you, that it was a smear campaign to try to get people to not watch these conservative influencers, these massive conservative influencers on the right. So that's pretty much what I just wanted to show you with most of this stuff. Again, so what's this? U.S. Action, a federation of progressive community organization groups. It was founded in 1999 by Heather Booth. It is a civil rights feminist and political strategist that has been involved in activism in the years during blah, 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 blah. Who gives a crap? Stupid. Sierra Club, an environmental organization group. So, yeah, very left-wing. Stop Hydro, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Don't give a crap. Said, what's this one? Working America is a political organization group from Federal Association of Labor, Congress of International Organizations. Good Lord. Membership is made up of non-union individuals. So it's a union made up of non-union individuals. That doesn't make a lot of sense. The largest non-employer affiliated union in the workers group in the United States, which is self-reported 5 million individuals working advocates for progressive policy issues. So again, hardcore left-wing activist groups, which I can guarantee you this is just a way to funnel money for the Democrats to funnel money from USAID type places into their own pockets, as we've constantly found out about all this stuff. So now let's get into other people's takes on what has been going on with this. So here is this guide breaking down how Taylor Lorenz obtained the information about that dark money, the Democratic dark money group, Chorus.
Independent journalist Taylor Lorenz is blowing up after producing an article accusing some Democratic news influencers about being a part of the 1630 Fund and Chorus, which is supposed to be this almost secretive, quote-unquote, collusion of Democratic policies with news influencers. But I'm here to talk about that. As a journalist, I'm here to break down for you how exactly she got that information. One is the contract. So when she assumed she got the contract, the group chat as well, I'm obtained that. I can't just directly post it to people. There are legal repercussions. Again, we all wish she did, but that's why she couldn't. And that's where a lot of the bulk of the information was. But as a journalist, she did the right thing and she read the contract and explicitly explained to people what exactly is in it with her team of editors from The Wire, requesting people for comments, which is exactly what she did. All the people who have made reaction videos who were accused, like Aaron Parnas and Alia Giuliani, she requested them to ask them about the situation, and their response was preferred on social media. But that, according to journalism principles, is exactly what she should have done. Lastly, I do agree with the fact that the article was a little poorly written, but the reality of it is the fact that the focus should have been on the 1630 project, which is what is funding Chorus, which has now actually changed what exactly is written on their website. All in all, as a journalist, what she did was perfectly fine. She used the basic principles of journalism. She asked people about what their thoughts were, experts. She asked the people accusing the article about it as well. She read the contract, legally obligated not to show it. And more importantly, she was very transparent with her sources and made updates. Independent journalist Taylor.
Yes. But not nearly as much media coverage. Again, let's go back over here. Look at this. So I type in Democratic dark money group funding influencers. Nothing about it. Nothing about it from the mainstream media. Let's go to the second page just to make sure. Nothing. It's all freaking... Look at this. It's all freaking Instagram posts. No mainstream media. Look, here's The Hill. The Hill has it, but The Hill isn't exactly hardcore left-wing. I wouldn't say it's right-wing either, but that's it. Nobody is talking about this. This isn't on any mainstream media thing. This is how you know that the left is just these bad people. So let's go back. Let's go back and look at Tenet Media. Look at this. Look at this. The AP, Wikipedia, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, PBS, NPR, Wired, Canadian Digital, CBS, BBC, Routers, CBC, NBC. Everything was about this, but we heard nothing. Not a damn thing about the Democratic dark money groups, which I just showed you is taking money from foreign countries. Where is the huge debacle about this? Where is all the mainstream news? How dare this group take this? It's because the political establishment, the news media establishment, besides Fox News, is lock in step with the Democratic Party. It's because they have been for a long time. That should be sheer proof of it. The sheer fact that nobody else talked about that besides Taylor Lorenz and Wired. Wired is the only freaking group that talked about it besides The Hill. Is the mainstream, and I wouldn't even call The Hill exactly mainstream. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. So let's see what else we have here. Oh yeah, even the Majority Report, who are hardcore left-wing progressives, talked about how this was bad.
Taylor Lorenz had this article entitled, "A Dark Money Group is Secretly Funding High-Profile Democratic Influencers," showing that essentially there have been some Democratic or liberal influencer. Taylor Lorenz had this article entitled...
Yep. And let's listen to this one right here. I believe this is from Asmongold.
A dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. That's right, guys. Taylor Lorenz puts out an article claiming that influencers were paid to push party talking points and were not allowed to disclose any ties. If that were true, that the influencers were allowed to not disclose the dark money funding at the time, which is not true per contract, then why didn't they disclose the dark money that they were taking? A dark money group is secretly funding...
Yep. They can't disclose. They couldn't talk about it. Remember that. They were paid to push Democratic talking points. Now, granted, again, that's not that big of a deal because they're paying left-wing influencers. So they're already getting people who they want in their fold anyway. Like, it's like a person who's a Democrat, is a hardcore Biden supporter, or at least an anti-Trump person, is going to sell the lies that they're willing to peddle, or they already are. But they weren't allowed to talk about where their money was coming from, which should immediately raise flags. Like, remember, and the Tenet Media people were told, your money's coming from this European financier. So they were lied to. Remember, these people, these Democrat dark money group, this chorus was told, do not say where this money comes from. Do not say where this money comes from. Whereas Tenet Media was told, this is where your money's coming from. It's coming from this European benefactor. So they were lied to. Tenet Media was lied to, whereas these Democratic people over here, these Democratic influencers, were told explicitly, do not say where this money is coming from. Do not say. And again, I just showed you that it can be coming from foreign overseas assets. So there we go. This is the problem that I have with what's going on. So this was my Throwback Thursday episode. I'm going to end with that little communist directive video again. But this is Chad with Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop and our Throwback Thursday episode. But yeah, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. I will catch you all next week. And Corey should be back. So we'll actually have the whole crew. Actually, what am I saying? I have a Friday show. What am I thinking? I keep thinking today's Friday. That this was our Throwback Thursday episode. I will see y'all Friday, and we're going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel finally getting the can off his show. And finally, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel fired, two Democratic talking pieces that are the most hardcore, left-wing guys you could have got. Finally gone. Love it. Absolutely love it. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but I will see y'all then. God bless you, everybody, and I'll catch you on the next one.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable buildups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."